Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Israel ramps up ground offensive against Hezbollah along Lebanon's southern coast as it deploys more troops and urges civilians to evacuate. Russian and Chinese Navy ships carry out joint patrol in the Pacific as Moscow and Berlin strengthen military cooperation, railing against Western hegemony. French authorities have ordered Omar bin Laden, the son of terrorist and slain al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, to leave the country over posts on social media that advocate terrorism. 3 suspects accused of stealing millions of dollars in cash from South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's game farm in 2020 appear in court, the hearing to resume next month. And the U.S. state of Florida braces for monster Hurricane Milton. It is expected to make landfall on Wednesday. This will be the second storm to hit Florida in 2 weeks. Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. It seems like France might just be on the cusp of putting its diplomatic relations at stake with another one of its former colonies in Africa. The already fraught relations between France and the Democratic Republic of Congo could possibly be hitting a new low. In what was seen as an embarrassing moment for French diplomacy, the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi staged a walkout from the French-speaking country's summit held over the weekend in Paris. The walkout came after French President Emmanuel Macron failed to mention the ongoing war in eastern Congo in his opening remarks at the summit. The French president spoke about conflicts ranging from Ukraine to Lebanon and Armenia, but made no mention of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has irked the Central African nation.
I firmly believe that the Francophonie is a place where we can work together to promote a diplomacy that defends sovereignty and territorial integrity everywhere throughout the planet. And that carries the same message, standing next to Ukraine, which is under attack today, its borders and territorial integrity threatened by Russia's war of aggression. And all of us believe in the freedom of people to decide for themselves, and are convinced that there can be no peace in the Middle East without a two-state solution. We all stand by our Armenian brothers for the respect of their sovereignty and territorial integrity. We all stand by our friend, the Lebanese people, whose sovereignty and peace are today being shaken.
Kinshasa considered the omission of war in eastern DRC in President Macron's speech as an attempt by its former colonizer to appease Rwanda, whose former foreign minister, Louise Mushikiwabo, sits as the head of the Organization of Francophone Countries. To contextualize, Rwanda was never a colony of France, but French is one of the official languages of Rwanda. Moreover, the DRC and Rwanda have had tense diplomatic relations with each other in recent years. But why are the DRC and Rwanda at loggerheads with each other? Let's understand. The Tutsi-led March 23 or M23 armed rebels have been waging an insurgency in DRC's violence-torn east since 2022. The DRC and the United Nations have accused neighboring Rwanda of backing the group with its own troops and weapons. Rwanda, which denies supporting the M23, says it has taken what it calls defensive measures and accuses the Democratic Republic of Congo of fighting alongside a Hutu rebel group. Now, the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, or the FDLR, which has attacked the Tutsis in both countries. Now both countries have participated in several rounds of negotiations, with the most recent one being in late August, which was aimed at easing the conflict that has displaced over 1.7 million people. But media reports say that Rwanda claimed at the Francophone summit that the DRC refused to sign a deal on M23 conflict. Congo did not respond to those claims. Angola, the mediator appointed by the African Union, has also been trying for months to make progress on this sensitive issue. Despite French President Macron's proposal for a three-way meeting to resolve the issue, both countries' leaders held separate bilateral talks with France on the issue at the Francophone summit. While they were standing just a few meters away from each other, DRC's President Felix and Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not even exchange a glance. At the group photograph that took place during the opening of the summit, the local media reports also suggested that President Tshisekedi skipped a luncheon organized by the head of the Organization of Francophone Countries on Saturday. Sensing that the walkout by the DRC's president might overshadow France's efforts to revive its lost colonial influence after several coups in Africa, President Emmanuel Macron called for Rwandan troops and M23 rebels to withdraw from the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo at the closing ceremony of the summit. Now, President Macron also called for dismantling of all armed groups in the mineral-rich conflict-torn region, while he said that any political processes should include M23 and all other political compositions. He later told the media that France was not taking any sides and encouraged both countries to reach an agreement in talks mediated by Angola. With the situation between the DRC and Rwanda continuing to remain tense, it is yet to be seen how much will France balance out between the two French-speaking countries, which are resource-rich. One will also be watching out for whether France is able to host a three-way summit to ease the conflict or not. Now, to discuss more on this, we have with us Espoir Ngalukie, a political activist and a security expert, live from Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you for being with us. Let's jump right in. What were the main reasons that President Tshisekedi has decided to walk out of the summit? I hope that you can hear me now. I'll repeat the question. What are the main reasons that President Felix Tshisekedi decided to walk out of the summit? It seems like some technical difficulties. We will try to get our guest back on that story. Now, moving on, we are shifting focus to the Horn of Africa, where Ethiopia has appointed a new president. The country has replaced the head of state, who reportedly had a fallout with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The Ethiopian lawmakers on Monday approved the appointment of new President Tshisekedi Selassie, who was earlier serving as the foreign minister. Now he replaces 74-year-old Sahle-Work Zewde, who was Ethiopia's first female president. Now her exit leaves Africa with only one female head of state as of now. Samia Suluhu Hassan is the only African female at the top position who is serving as Tanzania's president since 2021. Now Zewde, a former seasoned diplomat, was appointed as Ethiopian president by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in 2018. In Ethiopia, the president holds only a ceremonial role and the political power lies with the prime minister. But Zwewde's appointment was seen as a monumental in Ethiopian politics. It was seen as a step ahead for gender representation and leadership. It was hoped that she would bring a positive influence to a position usually held by male politicians. Her appointment helped improve Abiy Ahmed's credentials with Western governments. But things reportedly changed in recent years, and the rift erupted between the two. Zwewde's tenure coincided with bloody ethnic conflicts which shaped her presidency. First, the two-year war in the northern Tigray region, which ended in 2022, and then fighting in the neighboring Amhara region. She faced heavy criticism for her silence, especially on issues of gender violence. Thousands of people have been killed and millions displaced in the conflicts. More than 120,000 women were sexually abused during the Tigray War. Reports suggested that she had been critical of certain government decisions, particularly those impacting social and political stability. Ahead of her removal, she also posted a cryptic message on social media where she wrote that she was not happy with being silent in the last year. Now, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has not commented about the rift, but her removal certainly hints that the reports were right. Ethiopia's new president is also an experienced diplomat, and he shares close ties with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And it is to be expected that the current administration's policies would continue under his tenure. Meanwhile, Zwewde's exit has highlighted the lack of women in leadership roles in Africa, where out of 54 nations, only one woman is currently at the helm of the affairs. And moving on to Nigeria now, Africa's biggest oil producer has taken a groundbreaking step. Nigeria has decided to ditch the US dollar and sell its crude and refined oil in the local currency, the naira. In a historic move, Nigeria has begun selling its crude oil to the Dangote refinery in the local currency. The Dangote refinery is Nigeria's first private oil refinery. As per reports, Nigerian government is supplying 385,000 barrels of crude oil daily to the refinery. In return, Dangote will provide gasoline and diesel to the domestic market, also paid for in naira. The government says that the move is expected to boost local refining and to reduce dependence on imported fuel through this initiative. Even though Nigeria is a leading oil-producing nation, it does not have enough refining capacity and ends up importing most of its refined products. By refining locally, the country aims to save billions of dollars that would have been spent on fuel imports, thereby stabilizing the dollar exchange rate. Nigeria took the crucial step at the beginning of the month after a directive from the Federal Executive Council. The decision marks a significant shift as Nigeria's oil industry relied heavily on the dollar for decades. While Nigeria is not completely abandoning the dollar, it is taking a significant step toward reducing dollar dependence in its oil sector. The decision comes at a time when many nations in the world are moving away from the US dollar and exploring alternatives to trade. The de-dollarization campaign has gained momentum after the Russia-Ukraine war, with sanctions playing a significant role in the reducing of trust in the currency. Some countries that have launched de-dollarization efforts are the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Nigeria has also expressed its intention to join the bloc, and it has notably decided to ditch the US dollar the same month that BRICS summit will take place in Russia. Now, Nigeria's finance ministry says the move will improve the growth and stability of the country's economy. With around 37 billion barrels of oil reserves, the country accounts for 3.1% of global reserves. A key economic measure, the move could also impact its foreign policy. Now, could the decision be a clear signal of Nairobi's alignment with the global South rather than the West? And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid the coups and the crises, there are many positive stories from Africa that often get overlooked, but not on this show. Our story today is from South Sudan. Hilda Brandas is not just a footballer. She is a trailblazer in South Sudan, a country where the scars of conflict run deep and where women in sports are few and far between. As South Sudan's first left-footed national player, Brandas is doing more than just kicking a ball. She's shattering stereotypes and redefining what's possible for women in a male-dominated society. Our final report gets you all the details.
Women today, whether in developed or developing nations, are increasingly empowered to live life on their own terms. Even though the weight of patriarchy still lingers, their voices grow stronger with each passing day. Yet, for many women in conflict-torn countries like South Sudan, the road to freedom and self-expression remains fraught with challenges. South Sudan has endured years of strife, with people losing their homes, livelihoods and loved ones. But as peace gradually takes root, a new dawn is emerging, offering opportunities for women who are ready to reclaim their dreams. One such trailblazer is Hilda Brandas, a pioneering female footballer and the nation's first left-footed player at the national level, a distinction she wears with immense pride. Brandas, alongside a small but determined group of women, is leading the charge for future generations of female athletes. In a society where sports have long been dominated by men, she is breaking barriers and shattering cultural norms in South Sudan. Her journey to success in the male-dominated world of football has been nothing short of extraordinary. Her talent was on full display during an all-female football match organized by the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, a powerful event aimed at fostering unity, especially among young people. As Brandas shined, her performance lit the way for other women dreaming of a life in sports.
It was very, very important for us to play them and to have a friendly with them. Of course, they beat us 4-1, but the essence was not about winning. The essence was about communicating messages of peaceful coexistence with the communities here, messaging about our zero tolerance on sexual exploitation and abuse and sexual harassment, messaging about advocacy for the prevention of gender-based violence and especially targeting young girls, and also messages of peace.
But behind the spotlight and the inspiring moments on the field, Brandas's life is a testament to resilience and sacrifice.
Yes, it's another goal.
By day, she works as a gas station attendant, juggling the demands of her job with the responsibilities of motherhood and family. She lives with her child at her sister's house, supporting not only her own family, but her extended one as well. Despite the challenges, Brandas never gives up.
My plan is also to go and play outside country. Outside country, that's my big dream and plan right now. That's why I don't want to give up.
Her determination to succeed in both her personal and professional life is driven by a deep desire to inspire other women.
For my country, I want peace and love. They should not to sit down. There are some other parents, they don't want their girls to play football, but I'm just requesting them. They should allow their girls to come and play. They should come and play so that we raise up our flag together.
Through her tireless efforts, she shows them that success, no matter how difficult the path, is within reach. Filterbandas stands as a beacon of hope, proving that with courage and persistence, even the tallest barriers can be broken and the brightest dreams can come true.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gursheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost.